Am I going?
And she did it again.
Oh no!
Fucking Christ!
I didn't know!
Fucking.
Whatever.
You said, "Are you ready to go?" And then you
It's
went,
consistent, at least.
Yeah, she's very
"Yep."
consistent.
Wait, what now?
I'm consistently shit, okay?
Okay, so...
I didn't say that.
In this episode, we are going to be talking about the depiction of gaming and geek culture in mainstream media, mostly from a kind of a journalistic point of view, how newspapers and programming covers the culture. We'll also be looking at Halloween and horror, given the time of year that it is. So to kick things off, I'm going to give everybody a bit of a shout out who's joining us tonight. So you heard Kara fuck up the introduction for a second time.
Yay!
You heard Ross give out to her for doing it a second time.
Shouldn't have fucking done it.
And
Second time.
you heard Jack be polite about it for the second time.
Hello.
And I think Anto is choking on a Linda McCartney sausage.
I was.
What's the difference between a normal sausage and a Linda McCartney sausage?
Linda
Normal
McCartney
sausage
doesn't
has
murder
actual meat in
anyone.
it.
What? Sorry,
It's,
everyone fucking
it's-
talked at once there and I couldn't hear.
Linda McCartney is the vegetarian brand.
Oh, fuck that shit.
So it's murder
It's not
free.
real fucking sausage then.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a lie
one
in
thing,
sausage
vegetarian
form.
sausages are nicer than actual sausages. So
Fuck off.
okay.
yeah.
I've actually never had one. I've never actually had a real pork sausage. Shut the fuck
you
up.
have. Don't lie.
I could literally,
No,
I could
no,
literally
no comment,
read your
Declan. No
fucking
fucking comment. No comment.
Right. So we'll start this. So I think there's been a couple of big stories and a couple of big events at the moment that has drawn a lot of attention. Obviously, hashtag GamerGate probably being the biggest right now. But
Moan, groan, moan, groan.
I know.
Anto spent, we were talking earlier on the week, he must have spent a good 15 minutes explaining to me what Gamergate was, and I've still got any fucking idea.
I still don't know what it
what it
actually is. I just have a very vague understanding because I check the hashtag on Twitter every so often to remind myself that I am, in fact, not a crap person.
That's like checking the hashtag. It kind of you know when you're about to have a bath and you've left the hot tap run and you're like, shit, I better check to see if it. Oh fuck, it still burns.
Yeah.
That's literally what dipping your toe.
It is getting stranger though, because Darrell O'Brien retweeted a thing earlier. It was from this woman who had been run out of her home from death threats. She felt really unsafe, and he shared an article from someone that was like, oh, it's good on her that she's still continuing to do. She was an indie developer and she's still continuing to develop a game, and all these people just started berating him, being like, oh, I can't believe you're falling for it and stuff. And he was just kind of sitting there going, it's a woman who's being harassed on the internet all the time, and there's not really, this is a pretty two-dimensional story. She's getting harassed, people associated with this hashtag are harassing her.
So
What more? Yeah,
well, I think the premise behind it came from a good place. I mean, it obviously has opened up a lot of discussion. Okay, let's look at it this way. It has opened up an awful lot of discussion within the actual community and within, within the gaming world.
yeah.
What I think the problem I think with it is when it then bleeds into mainstream media. And
So,
people
You think it's partly because mainstream media doesn't have the wherewithal just to cope with it, not having, gaming literacy and such?
pretty much.
That's the thing. If you look at something like, say, the RT Guide, I don't think the RT Guide has a game review section, but something like the RT Guide, that'd be mainstream media. If they were to have a video game review section, it would be I'd say very vague, and it wouldn't go into any of the kind of detail that someone like Polygon will go into. And it's kind of that thing of, it's kind of wondering what exactly they want. Do they want mainstream media to pay attention to it?
I actually remember I knew a guy who tried to take the Daily Mail to task over their game review section because it was like, it's inaccurate and your reviews aren't representative. And I'm just sitting there like, it's a Daily fucking Mail, of course it's not accurate. None of their shit is accurate. The fuck are you expecting?
Well,
Like,
what's funny about the Daily Mail is it's been propped up for the last 10 years by sales of other tabloid newspapers. So in other words, all the people who the Daily Mail look down on are people who are buying the publications that support their publication.
yeah.
So the hypocrisy is just 90 on those motherfuckers. It's just seriously.
Yeah. I think part of it is people in the gaming media want it to be covered and legitimized the same way film reviews tend to be seen as a very legitimate kind of journalistic endeavor. And
yeah, but at the same time, that's not going to happen for a while, because by and large, most game reviews are kind of crap and don't actually make sense to anyone who doesn't have familiarity with the medium. Like,
that's the thing. It started as a niche, and it has been a niche for a long time, and it's starting now to, like, in the last 5 or 6 years, it's started to kind of open out of its cocoon a little bit, and kind of it's out of that infancy stage, and now it's becoming like it's not going away. It's not just a trend. It's not just it's not just another thing that will be looked on in 10 years and been like, oh, do you remember that? It's a legitimate industry. And
yeah, like obviously video games have like their own language and shit like that. I mean, you're not going to see in like a review of a film, like you're not going to see them talking about, various things like the camera perspectives and things like that, because that's something that's fairly exclusive to games, unless it is a very notable aspect.
Well,
of that
no,
film.
That's one of the things that's a very middle. Yeah, like that's one of the things that's part of the middle ground between gaming and especially recently with gaming, because gaming has started getting more cinematic. And as a result,
my kind of what I kind of see game reviews as needing to do is they need to kind of tap into a wider cultural lexicon kind of thing, rather than just saying like, if you like this game, you'll like this. They need to kind of refer to a wider branch of things. It's like, if you liked, it kind of draws on themes from such and such book or such and such TV show. So if you like those, you could try this game out and see if you like it, kind of thing, rather than just being, the controls are like this game. So if you like this game, then you'll like how this game controls. That's helpful to anyone on, other than that very specific person who has played that other game and liked the controls.
I think part of it is you need creators to be around for a long enough time, because one of the big things that legitimizes because the other two major review kind of things would be music and film, and but there's a lot of creators in those two industries that have been around for literally decades. So when it comes to reviewing work, you can review it to people that have been. You can look at people who have been in the industry for a long time and have done various things in the industry, and you need developers. You need people who have been making games and writing about them for a long enough length of time that the frame of reference widens open. So that,
But also, I mean,
sorry, go on.
Oh, sorry. But also the video game industry is now larger than both the film industry and the music industry combined.
It actually is, it's making more money per big release. It's making more money than both film and game. Music's making the least. For whatever reason, and for a number of reasons. But like, film has now gotten into that groove now, where it's like January, February making solid money, starts making money in the spring season, and then summer seasons where all the money is made, and then Christmas seasons when all the money is made, and then in between those two seasons is when you try to make sure that at least ends are being met.
Yeah.
Whereas gaming is
kind of sustainable the whole way through. You've obviously got your big, similar to film, you've got your big releases at the middle and end of the year, but those kind of droughts are always filled up by indies looking to kind of fill the gap. So it's making money.
And it's not even that
throughout the entire year.
With the summer lull, you have stuff like E3 and Gamescom that, like, even if there's no big games coming out, there is that promotion for big games that's happening. So people are still investing money in some part of the industry.
And obviously, games they do have very special things. They've got things like MMOs and free-to-play games that ensure that developers who do those systems right will be bringing in a constant stream of revenue throughout the entire year. Blizzard never need to worry about whether they're going to get their $15, whether that's going to dry up in the summer or anything like that, because they're going to get that $15 for 12 months, no matter what, until that person cancels.
Let's try to get back on track a little bit. I think GamerGate is probably the best example, and like one of the most recent ones that we could we could stay with. But looking at mainstream media, and in particular, I don't know if you guys are aware, but the Irish Times covered it recently.
So they actually covered GamerGate, did they?
They covered it this weekend.
Why?
Donald
I'm
Clark,
never done reading the fucking Irish Times.
Donald Clark for the Irish Times covered it, and I have to say I was actually quite shocked reading it. I had my own perception going in. I'm like, oh Jesus, he's not really like, it's not going to be the full kind of. He's not going to give a great perspective on this, and it reads really, really well. The whole thing is tracked, from the whole Zoe Quinn Kotaku cheating malarkey, and her Depression Quest game, and then he mentions that there's obviously been he's done a fair amount of work in researching it, but the interesting thing then is when you scroll down into the comment section, which is basically like scrolling down into
rookie fucking mistake,
the
Declan.
shitty
Rookie
bowels
mistake.
of the internet. It's literally ripe with bullshit.
Yeah, because you have people see like that where he mentioned Zoe Quinn and the cheating and Depression Quest. You'd have people who the first thing they say to that is like, "Oh, I have proof that such and such a thing happened," and you're kind of sitting there going, like,
So?
you're believing a conspiracy theory rather than someone's actual like evidence of harassment, And
I think that's probably like that kind of sums up GamerGate and kind of total, like you're saying, everything was great until you get to the comments. Like everything was fine, and I do think it started as a good place, trying to, open up and say you should disclose this information if you do have any personal relationship with a developer you might write about. But then it got taken over by, to put it in light terms, whiny wee piss babies. Who turned it into something nasty and just
whiny
awful.
wee piss babies.
They just took it over and turned it into something really quite nasty and took it away from that point and made it less legitimate in a way.
Yeah, like most of the comments I see from it are either people engaging in harassment, engaging in full-on shit-slinging, like over a fence at people who are anti-GamerGate, or people who are sitting there going, "Oh, not every GamerGate person is like that," and you're kind of sitting there going, "Well, look, it's fine that you're a good person, but you've got to realize you're associating with very, very loud, bad people, and it's the very loud, bad people that are defining." And the thing is that as it goes up, as this movement kind of, or whatever you want to call it, goes up and more mainstream media places cover it, what they are going to see when they go to investigate it, unless they're super thorough, is the really loud, bad people. And that is what's going to paint the narrative for parents watching at home, for people who aren't in the game, for people who don't follow games media that thoroughly. That's what they're going to see, is the really loud, bad people who are just harassing other people. And it's kind of, you're kind of sitting there going, you can still have your crusade for journalistic ethics. You can still have your crusade for, more accountability within games media. But perhaps ditching that hashtag might be a better option.
Yeah, like the mainstream media didn't cotton on to. I mean, because the only sites that can actually get access to it work are like BBC News. So BBC News didn't have a fucking article on, gamers try to reclaim journalistic integrity. They did have an article on Anita Sarkeesian is forced to drop talks because of terror threat. Like they had an article on that, but not on the good aspects of it. So you kind of think, well, obviously they're going to pick up on the shit bits of it, so just stop making your own movement fucking shit. Like
this is the side of it, right? There is an extremely valuable discussion to be had, both within both within the community and in a larger mainstream perspective, because obviously this can be applied to so many other aspects outside of even kind of gaming and geek culture, right?
We're a small site, but even me and Declan, like every time we have a meeting that's kind of to do with the editorial side of things, it gets brought up in some manner. Is like, is this okay? Is dealing with this PR company all right? Like it's even on a small level, it's that thing of like, because games media is still such a infantile industry, like it's not been around that long, so like a lot of the avenues and a lot of the ways of doing things aren't set in stone the way they are for the film industry or whatever. And it's
I
kind of one of those things where it's like it's good to have the discussion to know what is and isn't okay to be doing.
Yeah,
and how
like
to carry yourself.
there was obviously that very similar thing that happened last year with Robert Florence from Eurogamer at the time, I think it was. And this guy Robert Florence, he's a Scottish comedian, but he's also a games journalist, and he basically brought up this whole thing about it got kickstarted by the fact that this woman was writing about Square Enix products while on her CV she said that she was freelance employed by Square Enix. She was basically writing about Tomb Raider and being really positive about it while employed for Square Enix publishing Tomb Raider, and it kicked off into this whole thing about journalists entering competitions to win free PS3s because why shouldn't they be allowed despite the fact that they have been given them for free for their work. And it's just that whole kind of thing makes me think I would genuinely rather not
if
receive.
anyone's actually listening that has a free PS3 or free PS4 to give away, just give me a shout. I will enter that competition.
Yeah,
I would rather not receive.
We will take one per writer.
Yes, we have 50 writers.
Kind of to me, the point of a game review or something like that is because games are pretty fucking expensive. So the point of a game review is this worth your money?
Yeah.
I'm all for the artistic and narrative aspects of games, but at the end of the day, I want, if I'm reading a review, I want to know, is this worth my money? So I would come at it from that perspective. So I would rather not receive a press copy of something because then that would kind of skew my perspective. I would think, when I'm reviewing something that I've bought myself, I'm like, okay, was this worth the money that I spent on it? If I was to get a free copy of that, I wouldn't think so. And some companies, even ones that the arcade has been involved with in the past, are very kind of fucking schmoozy when it comes to things like that. Not naming any names, Microsoft's most major rival in the console space, but they can be very fucking schmoozy when it comes to things like that.
Wouldn't that, though, if you apply it to films, though, mean that you wouldn't have press screenings for, say, new movie releases and such, if you had to apply them?
That's the thing. I think that if the review is landing on the day of release or before a release, I'm not so sure if I agree with that, because I think that's down to you personally. It's kind of, you have to...
Yeah, because I'm a poor fucker and I need to know if everything's worth my money, basically. Because
ultimately, with a review, it's not about whether or not you want to spend money on it. It's whether or not you would tell someone else that it's worth their 60 quid.
Yeah.
Because if you got a free copy, that's you being given the power to you can tell someone else if it isn't worth them paying for it. And it's fair to be taken seriously.
Other aspects of it is the time as well.
What people want out of a games review. Because one of the big things going on is people talking about gender and kind of representation of characters and stuff. And have this whole thing of no, it's just about gameplay. And I, for one, at least, reject that completely. I want to know the narrative or not.
That was all fucking beat boop, Anto. You'll need to repeat that.
Yep.
Okay, fine. Sorry, I'll stop rehearsing.
Anto, you and your shitty internet connection.
Look, right?
Oh, internet gate. I think the other side of it then. We talked about this before I fucked up the last recording. I've seen
internet gate.
Oh my god, fuck off. We were talking about the other side of it, and I'm seeing a lot more of it on my newsfeed. Is articles, top 10 hottest New York Comic Con Marvel babes, both men and women. And it's just kind of I still get the impression when I'm oogling the article, it's still kind of, look at these hot people, they're still geeks, they're just horny geeks. It's never look at this amazing costume. It's look, I mean, this is a geek and they're not fat and or ugly. That's very much what they're pushing out there. It's look, geeks can be normal and attractive too.
It's that kind of tokenization of the kind of geek culture, isn't it? That's kind of look at our kind of one column out of our 10 for the day on hot people is on hot people that are also geeky, so they're kind of just pushing into that demographic of people that are into geek culture. If you're into that, here's stuff for you to look at too. Yay!
pop culturing more in a simple
Yeah.
way. Trying to make effort doesn't go into it.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that like there are cosplayers out there that kind of sell themselves on that, and I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's just that's perpetuating that it's okay for mainstream media to do that. If some of the
it
biggest
makes
members of the industry,
it makes hate, especially internet hate or worst cosplay lists, a lot harsher on women and men who aren't exactly like those people.
Yeah.
So, it's harder for them kind of people, for normal people, to be confident enough to cosplay, because if you're going to be featured just because you're a pear shape and not straight down like a skinny blonde, you're going to be put on a worst cosplay list.
Yeah.
Sorry, I actually have to interject, and this is completely 100% off topic.
Yeah.
Somebody just shared the most disgusting video on my Facebook newsfeed. It's Jedward's. I don't know.
You've already made me vomit, man. I gotta be
No, lad. This is actually going to get worse. It's Jedward with Tara Reid.
Oh, Lord of mercy, no. Can we get an interview with Tara Reid for the arcade?
No.
Define interview.
She.
If you mean interview in like the kind of Clockwork Orange sense, then yes, I approve.
Oh God. She's in their new music video. She was in one with them previously, and that's what I ended up watching because it was a link to a new. I can't believe I'm about this. A news item about Jedward's new single "Ferocious." And
Hold on, Jedward is still a thing?
Yeah.
Actually, I'm doing a signing in Castle Bar on Saturday, Ross.
Yeah, Ross, you can't come to the Night of the Living Geeks, but you can sure as hell come to that.
Yeah.
Look, nah, fuckies, I'm not even going to dignify that with our response. So welcome to your shitey fucking quiffy-haired ball bags.
We don't want them. Do you want them?
No, you fucking spawned them, you just can have them, right?
We actually didn't.
Who did? Oh, fuck, I don't care. We've got one ball bags and they're the Proclaimers, right?
Hang on,
the Proclaimers are better than Jedward, let's be honest.
Aye, but they're still ball bags, aren't they? Like, they're not great.
Hey, wait a minute, the Proclaimers are awesome!
The Proclaimers are great. Why are we talking about the Proclaimers all of a sudden?
I'm so
that's
lost.
I don't know, I just kind of say that's like my version of Jedward, just shite annoying
I'm pretty
tunes.
sure that the people of Scotland are going to rise up against you now for drawing the comparison between Jedward and the Proclaimers.
Probably.
You'll be exiled.
You're why Tara Reid's in that new music video.
With the Proclaimers.
How out for a paycheck will she be at this stage of the game?
She made Sharknado 2.
And probably signed up to do Sharknado 5.
I actually
really she has like an 8-film deal with them or something.
Yeah.
I actually liked the first Sharknado. I haven't seen Sharknado 2
So do I. I mean,
I like Sharknado.
Don't get me wrong. Every time I've seen Tara Reid in something, that thing, it was no better for her being in it. I mean, often it's not been any worse for her being in it, but it's never been any better for her either.
She was in Scrubs, was she not?
She was, yeah.
She was, yeah. I mean, she didn't make it any worse, make it any better, but.
I think my favorite thing about Tara Reid in Sharknado was, and it was the thing going on in my head the entire time, is like, how pissed off is she that she's playing that kid's mother and not the kid? That's what that's what's going on in my head the entire time. I was like, fuck the sharks. I just want to see. I literally want to see Tara Reid beat the shit out of her fucking fake actor daughter.
Wait, she was in fucking Alone in the Dark, wasn't she? That horrible fucking Uwe Boll monstrosity.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was in that. I remember he tried to blame, like, in his director commentary, because I've watched the director commentary, because he's a fucking lunatic, so it's absolutely hilarious. But he was like trying to blame. He was like
a boxing match with his critics.
Oh yeah, he did.
Oh Christ!
With one of his critics, he chickened out of another one. But yeah, no, he was in the commentary being like, "Oh, the film failed because she refused to get her tits out and all this," and it's like, no, the film failed for a lot more reasons than that, Uwe. The prime amongst them being that it's a fucking shit film.
The thing is with someone like Tara Reid is that now I'm not sure how much Uwe Boll was relying on it, but I don't know a lot of people that would care to buy something even if there was a chance of seeing Tara Reid nude in any way, shape, or form. I don't think she's really that much of a sale. I'm not sure if she was ever that much of a sale. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Oh god, that was a horrible film. Have there actually ever been any good gaming films ever?
Super Mario Bros.
That weren't animated.
Super Mario Bros.
Shut up, Anto. Shut the fuck up.
I actually kind of like nostalgia-wise. I really like the Super Mario Bros. If I watched it now,
Yeah.
I would
Fuck
actually.
off.
I would actually.
Back in the day, that was the shit.
Why are you all the worst people?
what about Scott Pilgrim versus the World? I mean, it's not based on it's based on lots of different video games, but
Yeah.
what about
True
that?
enough, I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
And the video game did come out afterwards, and the video game was awesome.
Yeah.
Video game's
Yeah.
fucking amazing.
Um,
I
Hang
suppose
on.
the,
can I just say this? The first Resident Evil movie.
no,
I
you
like
can't.
it. I really like it, actually.
You know what was actually a decent film? The
The
Silent
last Resident Evil movie.
Hill.
Yeah.
Silent Hill as a film
No.
was actually pretty okay.
No, it fucking
Oh.
wasn't.
Not
It
the
is.
new one.
The first one is great.
The first one is
The first
good. The
one's
second
great.
one's
It's not great.
atrocious.
It's good. I like the second one as well. So there you go. Right?
I actually no. I put the second one on Saturday night.
Oh, it's awful.
And I switched it off. I was like, no.
Some of the imagery in it is incredible.
No,
One
it's
of the
not.
things that like Disneyland, I think it was Disneyland in LA, or they always have these haunted houses, and a couple of years ago they had one based on Silent Hill, and they do the seasonal ones for Halloween, and I have never wanted to be in LA more in my life than to go to the Silent fucking Hill haunted
Actually,
house.
no. I tell you what, right? If I could do a ride, like a theme park ride, that was basically that scene in the first Silent Hill film where your one has to go through all the nurses, that would be amazing. Because that scene in itself makes that film. That scene in itself makes that film worthwhile, because that is one of the most tense and perfect translations of a video game to screen.
I will agree with you. There are certain things that movie got so right about Silent Hill. That was actually that was terrifying. It was actually you were sick nearly into your stomach.
Because you could actually imagine.
It was fantastic. I was nearly sick.
Because you could when watching, you could actually imagine yourself with a joypad just sitting there, slowly making your way through it, just with no ammo, being
holding your breath.
Yeah, that's the thing. It works. It does its job. And also, I thought the imagery of Pyramid Head and stuff was fairly spot on. The concept art.
I still think that
I think
for my money, Silent Hill 2 is probably one of the best horror games that's ever been made, purely because of that symbolism. Every aspect of that game, every monster, every bit of the town, every character ties into the main character somehow, and that's how horror should be fucking done. Horror should have some significance to the protagonist.
How it should be done.
That's how it should be fucking done. Right? See, Slender, get it to fuck. Nothing. All it is jump scares. Pish. Silent fucking Hills was that.
Well, okay. Well, that's the end of the podcast. We can leave it fucking there.
I'm on Boss Rush this week, and Pyramid Head is up, so it'll be. Had fun.
I went to thump my knee emphatically there and just ended up punching myself in the fucking knee.
Some man, Ross.
Ross has spoken, thumped in the knee, and up, just punched myself like a fucking idiot. So
I think while we're still kind of on video game movies, we've tried to pick what's the worst one you've watched?
Second.
Oh, good God, yeah, that was awful.
The first second film was just, Jesus Christ. I couldn't even
pretty bad.
Blood Rain.
Doom was pretty bad.
I actually haven't seen Blood Rain.
Doom wasn't.
Doom wasn't.
Doom wasn't bad. Now the thing is, I actually don't think Doom was that bad.
Fair enough, I'll give it to Doom. Doom was,
and also that first person sequence towards the end of Doom is great fun.
Yeah, true enough. That was actually really cool. Okay, Doom was alright, not fantastic by any stretch of the imagination, but not atrocious. I'm trying to think of all the video game movies that I've ever actually seen.
The recent Street Fighter one, The Legend of Chun-Li or whatever it is.
That didn't happen. That didn't happen. That didn't happen.
That wasn't even that didn't even have the cheesy amazingness of the Jean-Claude Van Damme one.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? My favorite thing about the Jean-Claude Van Damme one is that like he's still got the real, he's playing Guile, the all-American, fucking toothbrush haircut, but he's still got the really heavy Dutch accent, so he's like, I will fight him for America. That was Arnold. Like,
but the thing is, at the time, that's like the greatest spoof of guys like Stallone, Van Damme, and Schwarzenegger anyway. So, like, it's meta, man.
Hang on, Kylie Minogue was in that Street Fighter movie, so
yeah, she was.
Your argument is invalid. She played Cammy, so shut it. Now, Kieran,
guys aren't big enough. She was
you
rubbish.
just said Dead or Alive. Holly Valance was in that movie, and she's another Australian.
I don't know if I've seen it Dead or Alive.
That was a terrible movie.
It was awful.
Oh no! Do you know what? Do you know if a gay movie is brilliant for how bad it is? House of the Dead.
That's
Another
a great
ball.
movie.
that is
that movie's so
atrocious.
bad it's good.
Well, if we're on that vein, Mortal Kombat.
The Mortal Kombat films are classic, man.
It's so bad. They're amazing.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
Generally, like, you'll end up with a better game if it's based on just the idea of games rather than games themselves.
Okay.
Like, you look at the films that are based on, like, the idea of games, and you've got things like, fucking Scott Pilgrim, the Tron series, like,
that's true.
for cheesy amazingness, you've got The Wizard. So things that are based on the idea and culture of games are always better than game movies themselves.
What, you mean stuff like Videodrome and that kind of crap?
Yeah, that kind of shit, yeah.
And Existence. If you haven't seen Existence, watch it.
That's a great film.
Although I swear to God, if ever a film's going to make you want to vomit,
Set off the Fanto.
Film is just, oh my God.
That's the thing for the podcast. I'll give it 4.5 vomits out of 5. Like, that's our rating for Halloween films.
Well, if that's the case, we're doing. If you're on about video games or movies that are about video games that are not based on video games, you're on about the best ones. What about that awful Frankie Muniz one, Stay Alive?
I haven't seen that.
Jesus.
Oh God Almighty!
It's so bad.
Okay, there's an episode.
What about Game with Gerard Butler? That was awful.
That was crap. I'll give you that as well.
Shit! Yeah, I forgot about that one. That's the
Which
one where
one?
it's like they're prisoners.
It's a shoot 'em up, is it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which one is it?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Gamer with what's his name? Gerard Butler. It's it's a film that likes to think that it's about something, and it really isn't.
Video game violence, man, and slavery, and other things.
Actually, I just got reminded there, right? We forgot the greatest video game films of all time, right? The first one's fine, but the second Tomb Raider film is just something else to watch entirely. Oh man.
Yeah.
Wait, I actually, I'll be honest. I always pull a blank on the second one. The first one was about her being with her dead father.
The first one had some cool sequences. Like, you actually, there was parts of it where you're like, yeah, this is the kind of stuff I want.
The second one is just about her being naked and grieving for her dead father.
More or less. Like the second one is basically like, okay, we have this male architect, right, who's like Lara Croft, and what if, right?
Wait, you mean archaeologist?
But at the end,
do you mean archaeologist?
Whatever.
You said architect.
Okay.
The sexiest
It's
profession of
a
them all.
very fucking different game.
Lara Croft, construction engineer.
Hey, Lara, do you want to come explore this cave? No, man. I got to do up these plans.
Actually, I can't. That has a very, very weak counterbalance beam going across the top of it. I am not going in there.
I have
the structural integrity of these temples is just all wrong.
Get out of here, you.
Oh, holy shit.
That's how she got over. That's actually how she managed to grieve for her father. She did just build a bridge and get over it.
Construction engineer too.
We're also, to be fair now, we can't talk about video game films and not talk about Tron. That was the film that did it all, didn't it? Really?
Yeah. It's.
And that concludes the Tron portion of the podcast.
I've only seen the new Tron. I have not seen old Tron.
What?
Amazing.
We weren't actually allowed to watch it as kids.
What?
Oh, how come?
Yeah, it was through the whole. If you watch it, you'll get a seizure and die phase.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, we can't watch this really shiny, flashy movie. Okay, we'll just
But
watch.
as an adult, you just call that a really fucking good experience.
Yeah.
I mean, a film's just not worth it if you don't, trip balls and die at the end of it.
Woo!
Or halfway through, even better.
Yeah, so I just my only experience of it is the Neutron, and I didn't like Neutron.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Neutron's got a lot of problems, but the old one is fantastic, and it's
Okay.
kind of fantastic in spite of itself. That all the sort of the pulsings that come about were because they got the wrong types of film, and so they essentially had to turn it into a thing, and they did it brilliantly.
Oh.
Yeah. It's the first Tron is a technical wonder.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not that the new one isn't. The new one's still fucking fantastic.
Oh,
Mainly
yeah.
because they took all the
the
shit
new
that
one-
they did in the first one and then did it for real
Yeah,
this time.
Yeah, like the new one is it's great. Like it's just that it's
Beautiful.
very like it's visually everything you would expect them to be able to capable of doing. When you watch the first one, every time like I must have seen that film maybe 100 times now, and it's still like there's still parts of it where I'm like I can't believe they actually managed to make that look the way they did.
I'm
4
still really
decades.
sad that Tron Uprising never got like a second series because Tron Uprising was a fucking brilliant cartoon. It was a really good show, and it got moved to like it wasn't getting good enough ratings, so they decided to move it to fucking midnight because that's a great idea when you're not getting any fucking ratings. Let's improve it by moving it to the middle of the fucking night. Great job there. So it's not getting a second series basically, which really really pisses me off. But
It's something
what can
like
you do?
Adult Swim bought it'd be fine, but
Yeah, exactly. Because people who watch Adult Swim aren't awake during the day; they're only awake at midnight.
Eating cheese puffs and getting high.
Watching Tron and ripping
hey, only on Fridays.
So, okay, this is terrible, but we went from video game horror movies into just video games into Kara blowing her fucking nose incessantly into the microphone.
Jack!
We actually managed to
It
take.
sounds like Kara.
It's me as well. No, I'm also in violation of that particular rule.
I
You're
have
like-
not blown my nose once, bitch.
Well, maybe you're not aware of it, Kara, but you keep flashing up on my screen every time it happens.
I cough.
Well,
Go fucking stop it.
yeah,
Well, how about you cough some
hold your
breath?
breath.
Yeah.
Stop
we
having
did
that
actually
bodily
manage to
function.
take. We did actually manage to take away from our fucking segue, didn't we? We got into horror films, horror
we
games,
actually,
and then
it was
fucked
going
right
to go
away
really,
from
really
horror
well,
again.
and then boom, Ross started talking. I shut off.
Did we even talk about actual horror films?
We did. We talked about video game horror movies like Silent Hill and Resident Evil, and now we're back. And so Halloween, everyone.
Halloween. Yay.
That was
I
a
got us
fucking
there.
fantastic segue.
Okay, hold on. What's everyone dressing as for Halloween?
For the okay, so if we don't
Night
plug
of the
it-
Living Geek.
Oh Jesus Christ! I
For
was about to
fuck's
say if we
sake.
don't plug it, she'll fucking shit herself. But we're doing. So the arcade's organising the Night of the Living Geeks on October 31st in the
Sure they
Black
are.
Sheep Pub, Capel Street, Dublin.
That's the Black Sheep Pub, Capel Street, Dublin, beside
Geeks.
Cineworld.
And there's going to be obviously cosplay. There's prizes for best costume, scariest costume, and funniest one. Now, obviously, funniest is our politically correct way of saying ones that we all laughed about.
So basically, if your costume walks in and you have people turning heads, that's probably you and with a good shot at winning funniest.
Yay! We're also going to be doing kind of geek-themed games. So we are doing, instead of bobbing for apples, we're going to have bobbing for Pokeballs. And yes, the Pokeballs will be edible, and there will be surprises in them.
Well, there.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
So
Hopefully-
don't swallow them all at once.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And try not
It's just
drown.
not worth putting balls in your mouth if there's not a surprise.
I'm.
I was gonna say it sounds like a surprise. Yeah.
But we're also going to be organising a very kind of off-the-cuff video game tournament that night. We're going to be playing Terror Dome, where basically all the big 80s, early 90s horror icons, well, I suppose, and late 70s as well. Michael Myers, Freddy, Ash from The Evil Dead. Oh, that's correct.
What system are we running Turd on?
It's going to be it'll be Xbox controllers on a PC.
Huh.
So that's going to be taking place. There's going to be music. There's free food. it's going to
Should
be a
be
big
warned
night.
that we will have some semblance of a playlist for some of the night, but then I am probably going to get a little bit hammered to decide that I hate all the music being played, and then it'll be like Slayer and Pantera for the rest of the night. You have been warned, all of you.
In which case, we'll all leave, and Anto will just be sitting there.
I'll be happy
Which is
as
really
Larry.
how Anto wants it, let's be
in his
honest.
Raggedy Ann costume.
What are people going as?
Well, myself and Alan, we're doing a couples cosplay.
Okay.
Gay.
Okay.
We're doing splicers from Bioshock.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've made the masks. I'm taking a special effects makeup course at night. So Alan has a machete covered in barbed wire that I made, and I've got a little scythe.
Out of
Pretty
makeup? Impressive.
Yeah, all out of makeup. It's just, well, I got the impression from you, Kara, because you layered on so thick, I assumed I could be able to sculpt it into shapes.
How do you think I look this good?
Seriously, RuPaul's Drag Race, I should stop watching it.
Yeah, because it'll be like some poor attendees of this thing now. It'll be their first time meeting us, and you'll just sit there and you'll just say something horrific to them.
So, hey, I ain't throwing shit, I'm just telling the tea. So, Kara, what are you dressing up as?
Me and because Lydia's coming over, she's over from England, who's a friend of mine. We're doing Undead Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf.
That's pretty dope.
I am doing the Big Bad Wolf.
I was going to say, can I make a joke about all the facial hair? So, yay!
That's good in there. Just
I did. Otherwise, I was going to actually be able to get. I was actually going to get sick if I couldn't get that out. So thanks, Kara. That made me feel better.
You're welcome, you dick.
Anto.
I was gonna do the crow.
Please say Treebeard.
What?
Please say Treebeard, because I know it's a name that you adopt.
I'd love to do Treebeard, but I'd have no idea how I'd actually implement that costume. I might look into that between now and then. But at the moment, the current plan is I was going to do the crow, but I'm not arsed putting together that costume. So instead, it's just going to be all black formals and corpse paint. So basically, I'm going to be like the Joker from The Dark Knight, but completely black and white.
That's cool.
That's kind of
okay.
cool. Now, Ross and Jack, you guys aren't able to make it, but are you doing anything for Halloween?
Go ahead, Ross. No, Ross. I interrupted you first. It's only good manners.
I wasn't originally going to do anything for Halloween because work booked me into work that entire fucking weekend, and then today I got told that I can get the day after Halloween off. So I'm like, right, shit. Well,
which is like another good day.
It's yeah. So I'll be going out on Halloween. You can
also get drunk on Saturday, Ross.
No, because I need to be on work on Sunday, so I'm going out the Friday night. So I'm still going out on Halloween, only to a club in Glasgow that I got into a fight at last year with the Beast from Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
I hope he kicked your ass.
Were you
No, well, he nearly got into a fight with me, and then 10 minutes later forgot who I was and tried to hug me. So
was he really, really drunk? Was he?
He was incredibly drunk. I also got smacked with Mjolnir by Rorschach. It was a strange night. Mjolnir fucking hurts, by the way. Like I was seeing stars for like a fucking hour. But yeah, so I'm going out. I'm going as kind of a punkier, gory, kind of Misfits inspired version of Marshall Lee from Adventure Time.
Oh.
That's pretty cool.
So basically, you're just wearing your normal clothes.
Yeah, but with blood all over me. Yeah, essentially. It's basically it's the easiest thing I could think to do. So yeah, that's why I'll be going as.
Jack?
Oh, before I go into this, there's something I've got to say, because you mentioned Glasgow, and my stepdad, he's a musician, and he told me this story that I heard recently, and you've got to hear it. He works as a musician, and he's got a musician friend who works in Glasgow, and he did some work with Pavarotti. One night, they were in Glasgow, they came to the end of this big Neapolitan aria, as was Pavarotti's wont, and as they're shuffling through manuscript paper and music, a guy stands up and shouts, "Play Nessun Dorma!" and you know, Pavarotti's English was never all that, and so he kind of splutters back, "We don't have the music for Nessun Dorma." But this guy wasn't put off, and he stands up and he points at Pavarotti and he shouts at the top of his lungs, "Okay, show us your cock then!"
Oh, good. That was Ross.
It was me. I do apologise.
That's fantastic.
I can't resist a bit of opera cock. Just nothing.
Opera cock.
Fantastic.
Although it was fucking tiny, which is why they give you those binoculars on the. Well, it's tiny, so they give you the binoculars on the stick so that you can see it. That's the purpose of the opera.
It was rather a lot of Pavarotti, so it wouldn't have been served by the proportion. Okay, and on a lighter note, I'm just going as sort of generic Dracula at a house party hosted by a friend.
Okay.
So you're also going to dress normally, but you're going to put fangs on.
Yes, because ordinarily I always dress up as some
Dracula.
sort of 15th century sort of son of a gun, yeah.
Don't you be shattering my perception of you.
No, I'm sorry. No, my illusion has been completely shattered. Because it was like, here's this classy story about Pavarotti and a stepfather who's a musician and has a friend who works with, and they're in Glasgow, and it was quickly followed by opera.
Sorry, you thought it was going to be a classy story taking place in fucking Glasgow.
Well,
Declan.
Jack said it was more like Glasgow. And when you said it's like Glasgow.
Because it's not even Glasgow, it's Glasgow.
Did I turn into
Fucking
Stephen
Glasgow.
Fry? That's insane.
Compared to us, you sound like
But
Stephen fucking Fry.
it was just this kind of brief moment and this interjection of a little bit of class and integrity into the podcast, only for it to be wrapped up in opera cock at the end of it. I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting. Okay, so I know Brian Dunster on the Arcade is currently doing his Halloween movie challenge. And it's a bit of a legend thing because he missed, 4 nights or 3 nights?
And he literally just did all 4 of them. I was like editing it together, and they're pretty good reviews. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have the time to watch a movie and then review it every single night for 30 nights. But he
pretty much
anytime
me and Declan have for writing stuff during the week is taking up editing most other people's writing.
Mostly Ross's terrible writing, but
Oh, what?
I don't even submit any writing for you fucking...
Here's a YouTube video, you Irish bastard.
Anto told me that would be alright, okay.
But so Brian is obviously doing his kind of movie challenge, but until last year you did a Halloween movie guide. So we'll use this to wrap up. If you have one film to recommend and one film to suggest avoiding for Halloween, what would they be?
Go ahead, do you want me to start?
Yeah, start off right there.
Alright, well, actually, as far as stuff to recommend, there's a film coming out. It's coming out the weekend before Halloween. It's called The Babadook. It's an Australian horror film. I've been following it since this time last year. I actually emailed them to try and see if I could get a review copy of it, and they basically told me we're getting distribution. It's coming, and now it's finally here. So please go out and support it because it's an independent film and it looks awesome. And it's out the weekend. It's out in UK and Ireland the weekend before Halloween. So it will be in cinemas for Halloween weekend. And it's a film you can actually go see on the big screen before.
Right.
So
I just did a quick Google of it there, and no, that looks scary as shit.
Yeah, it's the story of it is like a family in the trailer. I don't know if he plays part in the film, but in the trailer the dad is gone. The kid starts having these nightmares. The mother doesn't know what to do. She tries this book called The Babadook, and the kid kind of responds to it. But basically, the thing is that when you start telling the tale of the Babadook, this creature, this Babadook, comes alive and starts haunting them, and it's just creepy, very, 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 very creepy.
And something to avoid.
Yeah, something to avoid.
Insidious.
I think generally anything in that genre should just be avoided.
Yeah, look, I was quite a fan of The Conjuring, and I have a funny feeling I'm going to like Annabelle more than I probably should. But James Wan stuff, man, just if you're a horror fan, if you're going to do just avoid it simply because he's never the Paranormal Activity and James Wan films just don't watch them because go investigate something else that you won't have heard of because those films get enough press and they're not very good. So some of them are good, but most of them aren't.
If I'm gonna go next. So My one, the one, the one I want to recommend. I don't know if you guys have seen it or if you saw it and you didn't like it, but I don't care because to this day it still freaks me out when I think about it. But The Strangers.
Oh yeah.
Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman. It absolutely terrifies me.
The kitchen shot towards the start of it, where like the camera is following her as she turns into the kitchen, and you can see him just in front of the front door, and he actually like it's most of the time when they do that shot, he's standing perfectly solitary. One of the great things about film is that they actually have him then move out of shot, which is just so.
See, I think for anyone, I think anyone who lives in kind of a an isolated house or an isolated community, like a small area, that's always at the back of your mind. It's like, okay, I am actually in the middle of nowhere right now. It's going to take some amount of time to get here in case I do get in trouble. And there has been some nights when you're in the house and it's just you and Jack. You can actually, if you want, ask Kaylee about the night that it was me, her, and Matty. Just in the house alone, and like.
It all dawned on you at the same time just how alone you all were.
No, what dawned on us was it was weird. Right? I was downstairs and we were lighting the fire because we have most of the heating is done by a stove in our house, and we have an electric pump as well, but we're too cheap to use it. So I asked Matty to go out and get some timber and to come back in or whatever, and I went upstairs to check something, and I remembered as I was going upstairs, crap, I forgot to tell him to get coal. So I opened up, we have those the skylights, so I opened it up, and there was a person standing in the yard, but I couldn't, because they were near kind of between the house and the shop, and it was very badly lit. I just assumed it was Matty, and I was like, Matty, don't forget to get coal. Closed the window and popped downstairs to check on dinner because I left Kaylee to attend it, and Matty and Kaylee were standing in the kitchen.
Oh, right, okay.
And then there was a knock on the door. We were all like, Kaylee, you answer it, because if it's you, you'll die first. And you'll be able to get away.
I'm sure she was fucking jumping to answer the door after that.
She actually was. No, but it was actually my cousin, and he only kind of made it worse because...
Is this the weird cousin?
It was my cousin, and he...
Declan is the weird cousin.
He said that he'd met my brother out in the yard. Well, he shouted at him and he asked why he didn't talk back. And basically, it's that there was somebody on our property.
Don't know who.
Just walking around, and we didn't know who it was. And we live out in the middle of the countryside.
I've been to it.
So
I've been to his house.
In my head right now, like at that stage, I was Liv Tyler. I was like, I'm fucking dead. I'm so dead. But at least I was pretty, so it was okay.
The movie ends like I love the ending to that film because that film never cheers you back up.
No, it did not. It freaked me out. My horror movie to avoid. I'm gonna say all that kind of Paranormal Activity, Drag Me to Hell, Insidious crap. No, you know what? Because there are people that like that stuff. I'm gonna say avoid The Eye. That movie was just awful.
That's the Alba one, isn't it?
Yeah, Jessica Alba. Oh, I can't even do it. Only she can do that voice, and I think it's because Naomi has some sort of half demonic larynx or something.
Yeah, I was very right. Yeah, it's actually that's a remake. See, one of the reasons why it's so bad is because it's a remake of a Japanese film of the same. Oh no, it's a Hong Kong film of the same name. And actually, the Hong Kong film is terrifying.
Yeah.
But the American one,
the American Grudge is because it's got Sarah Michelle Gellar and she can do the horror thing. It's passable, but you watch
not good compared to Ju-on.
Oh Jesus Christ! No way in hell.
Or the first Ring, like the Ringu, like oh my god! I remember the first time I watched it was in because remember Channel 4 or Film 4 used to be great for showing foreign horror films.
Yeah, and it used to be great for showing foreign films. Full stop.
Yeah, that
was our first battle royale. Actually,
guys, keep going. I'm gonna be back in a second.
Cool. Like I remember the first time I watched, I used to tape them because we only had one TV in the house at the time, and so I taped them, and then I'd watch them during the day when my mum was at work or whatever during the summer, and that was the first. Ringu was the first film that really made me feel uneasy about being in my own house. Like,
Absolutely.
really,
And in the middle of the day as well. Like,
yeah, because for those who have if you've seen The Ring, you know kind of it's very atmospheric horror. It's there's a lot of uneasiness in it. But what Ringu does is like most of the time when you see Samara, her first appearances are very ghostly, very ethereal, and they're basically at any time. And that's what the film kind of creates, this atmosphere that she could appear at any time.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're watching it, especially for the first time, if you're not really sure like about horror, it's like it just completely unnerves you. As does most Japanese, as does most Asian cinema. Like it just
I feel like the reason for that is that it's kind of a different cultural lens. So a lot of people will get that. Just with kind of
they kind of have a very they have a different
because a lot of it's based on like Shinto mythology, and we don't have that in the West. It's very otherly to us, and that kind of creates
like we have
that uncomfortableness straight away without them needing to actually do anything in the first place.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. Like we have the very kind of it's ghost. It has to be scary. Whereas from what I've seen from the films, at least, it's a much more view of like they're also other beings, and there's kind of that aspect of it. Like they're not just there to scare you. Like they
have their own purpose, kind of thing.
Yeah. Which is in a lot of films, like the original Ringu trilogy goes into crazy levels of just ridiculousness. Like.
Mm-hmm.
The sequence in the third one, it just doesn't make any sense. It's almost Lynchian, and but the thing is that that's the thing. It kind of they're telling different. It's not just one set story of like, oh, it's just 20 something who needs to get through. It's kind of a thing of like, well, no, the ghosts have a story to be told too, and we're going to tell it. And it's not just typical like, we're here for revenge because revenge.
Anybody else any recommendations to avoid or to?
For recommendations, I would recommend VHS 2. It was actually on Anto's list that he did last year. I wasn't the first one was okay. The first one had some really good bits and some really awful bits, but VHS 2 overall was a lot more well-rounded.
The bit now where they riff on cults, and it is
Jesus, that was some creepy stuff. That was the same guy that directed The Raid, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was.
Part of it is you're going through this facility, and when they go back and they see all these classes and stuff, and then when they come back out through this facility, all the rooms are looking at them.
Mm-hmm. It's really well done. It's a found footage that is done well because it has a framing narrative that actually makes the found footage fit into its narrative almost.
And they go to lengths to use that narrative, the kind of that found footage style, to actually tell a story in a manner that could only be told in that way.
Yeah,
which is nice.
Mm-hmm. The only other way that I've seen found footage kind of work so well is with kind of web series that have a more sort of alternate reality game set into them. So things like Marble Hornets, Everyman Hybrid, things like that, where it's not meant to be a series. It's as if it's almost meant to be happening in the real world. That makes sense for found footage as well because it's meant to be real almost. But VHS 2 for a film does make pretty good use of it. As for avoiding, there was a fucking awful film that me and my mates watched on Netflix because it was on Netflix and we thought, fuck it, why not? And then we swiftly found out why not. It's called Venom, and it's not very well known, thankfully. Basically the story is this trucker falls into a river and then gets bitten by voodoo snakes, and then becomes a voodoo snake person. Or no, sorry, a voodoo person possessed by the snakes, and then he goes and does all your usual horror stuff with voodoo and all this shite in it, and then they do all this stuff, and I'm going to spoil the ending because I've just told you aren't going to watch it. I've just recommended you not to watch it, and you're going to trust me because it's me. So basically, the end of it, you think, oh, they're going to do some voodoo ritual, and that'll take care of the monster. In the end, they just run him over with his own fucking truck, and that's him dead. That's it. Like, that's the fucking ending. I'm like, hold on a minute, right? No, wait, hold on. They went to such lengths to explain that this is a voodoo monster. We need to use voodoo to kill him, and then they just hit him with a fucking truck. I was like, come on, fuck, lads, for fuck's sake.
That's poor. That is
It's
poor.
a poor fucking film. Like, it's on Netflix if you want to watch it, but you don't want to watch
Method Man is in it. There you go. Method Man is in it.
Method Man shouldn't be in it. But yeah, no, watch VHS 2. Don't watch fucking that piece of shit Venom. It's not conducive to a functioning brain.
I don't think they have to anymore. So.
Spoilers.
I'd have to suggest The Innocents by Jack Clayton. It's a fantastic film based on Turn of the Screw by Henry James. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's really just fantastic.
That's the song they use. Is it
Willow Whaley?
Willow Whaley? Oh God, Lord, no! That freaks the living. I love The Innocents. So yeah, fantastic recommendation there. Yeah. Oh.
It's wonderfully done, brilliantly put together, and just.
That's the 61, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
It's what's his name? I'm just googling it now.
Michael Redgrave's in it, and Deborah Kerr.
Yeah, Deborah Kerr. That's the one.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's fantastically well put together film. And to avoid, have you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm trying to think of something.
Oh, okay.
It'll come to me eventually.
Okay. Film to avoid: Dark Floors.
Dark Floors.
Sounds like a terrible DIY movie.
Yeah. It is. I mean, this will tell you how bad it is. The monster in it is, if memory serves me, I think he was one of the entrants to the Eurovision Song Contest.
He is.
They took the Eurovision Song Contest.
One of the guys from Lordy then
was the monster, which was
Mr. Lordy.
That's Mr. Lordy.
Yeah.
Oh Lordy.
He's the monster in it.
Yeah.
No, they're all the monsters in it. Like it's the Lordy film.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that actually that cannot be a thing? Shut the fuck
Yeah,
up.
It is the Lordy motion picture.
Yeah.
Oh fuck right off.
Yeah. You can check.
I actually I like it for the cheesiness of it, but I mean it's not a film to recommend to anyone really.
No, not at all.
Kara, have you got anything?
I'm not a big horror person.
For
Mainly
fuck's
because, like,
sake!
I'm a little coward, but I watch it pretty much nearly every Halloween through my fingers. The original Exorcist.
No.
Every year, I can never finish it. Between that and Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, good old Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah.
Yeah. And to avoid is this 2 movies: The Skeleton Key.
Oh, piss off! No, that's a very good movie.
That's a shit movie.
No, it's not. It's a fantastic.
If I can watch it, it's not a horror.
Skeleton Key is fine. It's just the ending is a bit rushed.
No, the Skeleton Key is an amazing movie. I'm sorry. No, it's.
And
it's
the other one
amazing.
is Teeth.
Hang on. There's a scene in. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of. No, yeah, no, I'm thinking of a different scene. But the Skeleton Key, Teeth is just stupid. Oh, look, it's a vagina with teeth.
Yeah.
Right.
And then she survives at the end.
Kind of
goes off on an adventure.
I was going to say, isn't Teeth meant to be sort of like a very gruesome sort of comedy? I mean, it's just,
Kind
it
of.
is essentially just,
It is.
Yeah.
It's just the jokes.
It was
don't really
marketed
land,
as a
so.
horror.
Yeah.
yeah.
Kara, you brought up something that it just reminded when you mentioned the Skeleton Key, because I watched First Wives Club last night, and obviously that has Goldie Hawn in it.
Yeah.
This is a roundabout. In Kill Bill, when Beatrix is fighting Gogo Yubari, with the weird ball chain thing.
Yeah.
She was the last Super Battle Royale, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she played the runner in Battle Royale.
That's a great movie.
In that scene when they're fighting and she gets the chain wrapped around her neck, and Gogo is basically choking the life out of the bride. There's this one shot, and every time I see it, I just laugh. It basically Uma Thurman is Goldie Hawn. Like literally, her eyes are bulging out of her head. Her face is all swollen. Her lips are basically just 9/10 of her face. And it's basically like looking at Goldie Hawn. It's just, if I can find it, I will link you guys.
I don't really tend to feel like uncomfortable when I'm watching films a lot of the time, but in Battle Royale, that scene with I can't remember the character's name, but the runner and the guy, I've never felt more uncomfortable watching
When
a
he's
film
trying
than
to
when he
rape
gets
her?
stabbed in the bollocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Granted, he deserved it, but
Yeah.
like just the image of somebody getting stabbed in the ball sack is not a pleasant one to watch.
That movie tries to really push, though, every every person who watches it will feel uneasy at some part.
Oh,
at some
the book is worse in a lot of ways.
The manga is wow.
I remember reading the manga. I'm surprised they got away with some of the shit they put in that.
Yeah.
Like,
What are we talking about?
Battle Royale.
Royale.
Oh yeah.
Battle Royale manga, like to the point where there's like double pages of a girl getting shot through the face and her brain, eye, and her shattered teeth popping out of her destroyed head. Like that's a full 2-page spread in the manga, and I'm like, how the fuck did you get away with that? Like, you should not have got away with that at all.
They had the plastic covering.
Yeah. Forbidden Planet Dublin should not have got away with selling me that back in the day, but...
Yeah, you kind of look at it now and you look at Battle Royale on shelves and it's just like, plastic covered, you can't even read it in the shop.
For a good fucking reason, like...
Yeah, I remember I got, it's this manga called Doll, and it's a horror manga I found out afterwards. But it's basically about, like, humanoid dolls. And my mom got it for me for Christmas. I was about maybe 14, and she was wondering why one out of 6 had plastic, because it was all about sex toys.
Wow.
The whole manga was about sex.
Okay.
Well, now we can blame your mother for you, can't we?
Hey!
Yay, we have the excuse again.
Jackson, you like my mother.
And not just poor life choices.
Shut up. You love me.
I think we actually decided that should be the title of the podcast. Kara's poor life choices.
Kira, can you start a column called "My Poor Life Choices"? I will edit the shit out of that.
You'll need to edit the shit out of that. It won't be fit for print.
No, it'll need plastic covering.
Okay, there's that. I found that scene, so I actually screen capped it for you guys, just so you can see what I'm fucking talking about. She looks like fucking Goldie Hawn. Right,
you actually named it Poor Life Choices.
I did.
Oh my god!
And everybody's downloading it.
I hate you.
I am, but it's gonna take fucking ages.
Shove it. It's a tiny file. You just have the crappiest internet in the world.
Just get Gyazo. Like, you just screen cap things and then they're instantly on the internet. It's fantastic.
Young people.
Gyazo, eh?
Young people.
Gyazo, yeah.
They're internet buzzwords.
With their hashtags and their GamerGates and their Gyazo.
Lads, I'm furious. This podcast has gone over an hour. I'm furious.
Get it up, you.
You bastards.
It's fine, I'll buy you a beer.
You owe me a beer too.
You can kiss my hole.
Why do I owe you a beer?
Oh,
it was my birthday.
Oh yeah, I do owe you a beer. Remind me of that.
Right, guys. I think we can leave it there.
Okay.
So,
fantastic.
Thanks everybody for coming along. Thanks, Kara, for fucking up the introduction twice.
Oh my gosh, the spitting image.
Isn't she?
Creepy.
I'll put it in the. I'll put it
It's
in
all
the video.
in the eyes.
It's all. Yeah, it's all in the eyes. It's on those bulging, bloodshot eyeballs.
Please don't make that the fucking YouTube thumbnail, for the love of God.
There it is. Yay!
Oh no, my God.
You encouraged me.
No, my exact words were, please don't. That's the opposite of an encouragement, Deco.
It's opposite day.
Yeah.
Fuck off, it is.
Yeah, it is very Goldie Hawn.
Yeah.
It is.
See, I'm not just a lunatic.
Well,
Right. We'll leave it there so if everybody wants to say their goodbyes.
Okay. Thanks very much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
See,
Bye,
that's how you
guys.
fucking say goodbye.
I've been epically shamed again for another week.
And just remember, if you do see people with opera goggles, bear in mind that they're looking for Pavarotti's
He's
cock.
Opera cock, yes. His wee
He's been dead for about 3 years, isn't he?
Well,
That's why they're looking really hard for
They
it.
could still be looking for it. I'm never going to go to the opera the same way again.
You never looked at opera full stop.
Hey. Madam Butterfly. And we'll leave it there, guys.
Awesome.
Bye.